The Super Speedway Podcast is a Dream Bigger media production. For news, photos, show notes, and information about advertising on the podcast, visit www.thesuperspeedway.com.
3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the Super Speedway.
Coming to the white flag. Too close to call at the line. It's the last lap at Eldora, and Briscoe and Enfinger are banging doors side by side. Through 3 and 4. Who's going to win it? The Dirt Derby. Briscoe nudging ahead. Enfinger coming, and it's going to be Chase Briscoe. Oh, yeah.
Welcome to episode 70 of the Super Speedway Podcast, recorded July 24th, 2018. I'm your host, Eric Young. I am joined, as always, by my co-host, James Cush. James, does it give you chills listening to that finish at Eldora?
Whew. Oh, yeah. Is that, who yelled the, oh, yeah? Was that Bell or Larson?
I think it was Michael Waltrip at the end.
Oh,
yeah.
That makes sense.
Not the most epic of calls for a race. I mean, it is our minor leagues, but Vince did okay with it.
Yeah.
But the finish made up for any errors in the call or the stumble over the dirt derby, if you noticed it.
He definitely got tripped up there at a certain point.
But
that's all right.
What a race. And we'll talk a little bit about the dirt derby in a few minutes. But first, let's talk about the Foxwoods Casino Resort 301 from the New Hampshire Motor Speedway this weekend, the NASCAR Monster Energy Cup Series. Kevin Havick gets it done, gets the victory, becomes the lead driver of the Big Three with a little bump and run on Kyle Busch. What'd you think of that, James?
Loved it. Loved it. Yeah, that was, as clean as you can do it.
It was a pretty clean bump. That is for sure. I mean, you don't need to do a whole lot to get somebody up out of the groove at New Hampshire, but I guess the question I have, and I've got it here in the notes, James, was it too early and was it the right move? Let's look at the big picture of everything, including the rest of the season. Was it the right thing to do, and was it too soon in the finish? Because there were, I think, 7 to go when he made the move. So, what do you think?
When you have a chance to take the lead, you take the lead, no matter what the circumstances. And if that was the best move for it, then by God, you do it. You can't. I know these guys are good, but you can't risk not going for it.
Right
at this point. And Kevin Harvick's got nothing to lose. And neither does Kyle Busch, really. But
he does have a championship to lose should Kyle get the chance to repay the favor at the right point.
Yep, and that was a huge moment for, you make a great point. A huge moment for the race win, but that's playoff points, playoff seeding. And right there, Kevin Harvick, I believe he pulled even with Kyle Busch at that point. So it's just, I'm not a big proponent of waiting to make the right move or trying to do it a certain way.
Right.
If you got a chance to give him the bumper, just give it to him. I don't know why people get so wadded up about the bump and run.
Yeah, I love the bump and run. I think that's what NASCAR was made on. I did feel like at the time as I was watching it, I knew it was coming, but I thought it was early. I thought 7 to go. He was the faster car, and I felt like he was going to get by Kyle regardless, and probably didn't need to make the move, didn't need to ruffle the feathers, didn't need to sign the permission slip, as many said, to give Kyle the permission to do that back to him later in the season or the next chance he gets. But, I listened a little bit. I heard some interviews after the fact, and Harvick was talking about, for one, there was rain coming, and Kyle was, they mentioned on the TV broadcast that Kyle was complaining about rain and calling. Of course, he's getting tracked down, and the leader always calls for rain. But Harvick was seeing those same raindrops on his windshield. He didn't know if he had 7 laps or not to finish the race, for one. And obviously, cars change and whatnot. We've seen guys get to people's back bumpers and have a chance at making the move and then fading at the end and not getting that opportunity because they didn't make it. So, I see more. I understand more why Harvick made it when he did. Again, I have no problem with it. I think this is good stuff, man.
That's NASCAR racing.
We need these guys battling. Honestly, I was a little disappointed at the end because Kyle wasn't too upset about it.
No, he was upset
I want him to be mad.
Yeah, he was upset in the moment, but he let himself settle down.
Yeah, I want a rivalry between these guys. I want these top 3 hating each other. I don't want them liking each other.
We talked about this last week, though, Eric. I mean, you can see it coming.
Oh yeah,
It's
it
the
is
playoff.
building.
Yeah, it's brewing. Yeah, we're still early in the brewing process
Well,
right
and
now. It's good.
This is one of those times in this, like we had this when we first did the chase in the winner take all format, when all the intensity ramped up. We had that building, and then we had the couple fights and get-togethers in the playoffs, and while the chase at the time, playoffs now, and you could feel it building to something, and I feel that same way right now. We've had 3 good races in 4 weeks. Kentucky was the only snoozer in the Cup Series. The truck race was okay, but the Cup Series, 3 good, really pretty good races. New Hampshire, maybe not the greatest race. I mean, certainly not the greatest race of the season. Good finish. By New Hampshire standards, freaking awesome race, because usually the races there are terrible.
Yeah.
So I just think, it's good things are coming. We're not in the playoffs yet. We've still got a ways to go before the playoffs. And, that the fact that we've got 3 guys running for it, if they can all continue to run good, I don't care that it's we talked about it last week. I don't care that it's just 3 guys. At least it's 3 guys and not 1.
Yeah, and exactly. That was exactly my point. You've got 3 guys, and they are all hitting on all cylinders, and they have been all season, and they are just going to end up around each other at very critical moments.
Well, and the great thing is,
it's going to be good.
Is not only are those 3 guys hitting on all cylinders, those 3 guys are running up front, but we keep getting these little sneaks of other people to the party.
Yeah, there's like little firecrackers out there.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't had anybody that's been able to actually contend with them consistently, but we've had Clint Boyer up there. We've had Kyle Larson up there. We've now had Eric Almirola up there. Brad Keselowski snuck in there. Joey Logano snuck in there. These guys are there, and all that's going to do is make that intensity even more, having these guys slip in and slowly catch up to these 3. I don't know. I'm excited about this season, the way it's been going. We've had some down moments. There's been so much negativity, and I've tried to block it out, and maybe it's because I've been doing that I'm enjoying it more. But I am down with the season right now.
Yeah, it's been as entertaining of a season as we've had in a couple of years.
Yeah,
it's looking like we've got some classic moments, and I know that's the big thing with the playoff / chase is getting those Game 7 moments, and we're definitely gonna have them, because I don't believe, I've said that I still believe that we are not going to have all 3 of these guys make Homestead.
Well, that's the thing. I was just going to say, you've got
somebody's going to fall off.
Kyle Larson comes in here and wins 2 races in a round. He knocks somebody out. You know, I mean, there's the because of the win and you're in thing, especially as we get further into the playoffs. These guys are all going to make it through the first round. Yeah, no problem.
Oh,
I mean,
they'll
they
make
pretty
it,
much could stay home and make it through the first round.
Yeah,
but once you get to those later rounds, I'm with you. I don't think all 3 of these guys are racing at Homestead, and if they are, awesome. Even better. But I don't think they will be. I think one of them is going to get left out at least.
Yeah, I think Talladega is going to cause some issues, and I think the Roval's going to probably. I mean, we've got a couple wild cards in there.
Mm-hmm.
Looking way down the roads. That's really gonna. It's really going to test these guys, and for the most part, these 3 guys have been perfection.
Right.
There haven't been too many mistakes, and it's just who's going to make those mistakes when the time comes.
Definitely. We would be remiss if we didn't mention Eric Almirola, who had probably a race-winning car. Had pit stop issues at the end, and they showed the pit stop after the race, and they said they showed it in slow motion, and they're like, that one little hiccup, and it's like, even in slow motion, I didn't see the hiccup. But fell back and managed to get back up for 3rd and spoil the big 3 party up front. Got ahead of Truex. But, I mean, again, Almirola's there. These guys are there sneaking in. Yep. I think we're going to have a couple more. I mean, Chase Elliott ran well during the day. He looked strong earlier.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a point when I forget who was up front. There were cars up front that just – Matt Kenseth was running up front, at one point. And so, I don't know. It's just a fun year. I like it.
I would, if I was in that team meeting at Stewart Haas Racing, I wonder what the crew chiefs between the 10 and the 14 would have been saying to each other.
Yeah.
Because Clint Boyer that caution really screwed up Almirola's shot.
Yeah, Boyer lost the race for Almirola for sure.
I think so.
It wasn't Boyer's fault. I don't know that.
No, it was the first domino that led to the eventual losing of the race.
Yeah, and Boyer was beat up afterwards about it, and I guess from the sounds of it, they were talking on the radio like that lap that they were going to come in, and it just was one lap too many. But that stuff happens. Almirola is going to get himself a win in that car, and it's probably going to come this season. I mean, the way that they're running. Good. I mean,
and my pick 2 weeks in a row, Kurt Busch, he led the most laps on the day.
Yeah,
it's all the Stewart-Haas cars.
Right.
I keep thinking Kurt's going to get a win here, and he's he's leading laps the last 2 weeks, but hasn't been able to get the job done.
Right. Yeah, it was
all the way around good.
All in all, good race. Good competition again for New Hampshire. I think maybe they finally figured out the grip strips, where to put them, how much to put down to make that work. It definitely seemed to help the racing, I think, on Sunday. Maybe the weather played a little bit of a factor. Kudos to NASCAR again for getting a full race in on a day when they were predicting Thursday that we weren't racing at all. We might not be racing until Tuesday, and once again, we get the race in. Now, that's why I don't buy these weather reports. You can guess all you want, and there's a couple guys. I can't remember their names off the top of my head, but there's a couple guys on Twitter that are they do the race weather predictions and stuff, and they do a really good job of it. And they were calling 40 to 50% chance of racing on Sunday, so it wasn't doom and gloom for them there. Although they were really doom and gloom for Michigan, and we managed to get at least past halfway in that one. But it's the radar can only tell you so much. The models can only tell you so much.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they were talking on Sirius that it was the radar was done raining, but it was still raining at New Hampshire. So
you don't know anything about weather until the day before.
Right. And exactly.
Even then, it's still a crapshoot sometimes.
It's the old weather rock thing. If the rock is wet, it's raining. If it's dry, it's
pretty much that simple.
If it's dry, it's not raining. If it's down the street, it's windy. That's pretty much that's what works. So
yeah.
Who else do we want to single out on this day? Chase Elliott again had a strong performance. He finished 5th. Ryan Newman up there in 6th.
Yeah, he's good there.
Yeah.
He was on my bench for the fantasy team. I should have probably went with him, but. He's good. Johnson, he's creeping in and still creeping in.
He's hanging there, and that's another guy.
Yeah.
You just never know when it's going to click, and they're going to get their stuff together. And this system, all they got to do is get one win, and they're in the playoffs. And
sure, yeah,
anything can happen. So, you go on a run late in the season, you can win the championship on it.
For sure. Gosh, I'm trying to think of anybody else who had a good run. I mean, it was just a kind of a typical day.
Yeah.
A.J. Allmendinger had a pretty bad situation, knocked him out. Other than that,
back there, Brad Keselowski in the back in 32nd.
Stenhouse, he had a bunch of issues.
It's Stenhouse.
Stenhouse kind of got the mark of death on him right now.
Yeah.
It's not good.
Bubba Wallace finishes 24th. I didn't put this in the show notes, but we might as well mention it. Richard Petty says he plans on Bubba being back next year, despite the fact they only had a 1-year contract. So looks like Bubba's got himself a ride next year. That's good.
Yeah. Hopefully it works out for them.
Yeah.
The Penske guys were good. Other than that,
pretty standard day.
Yeah, bro, it's pretty standard day. I mean, you got 3 guys in the top 4, so
right.
If any one of those guys would have had a bad day, we probably would have had a little bit more to talk about. But overall, just a good race, and we had a nice crop of guys who led laps.
Right.
You mentioned Almirola, Chase Elliott, Kurt Busch. A lot of there wasn't really anybody who dominated the lap count.
Right.
Kurt Busch kind of he had 94 to Truex 83, but for the most part it was pretty even across the board.
Yeah. One thing I was disappointed was with the weather. Of course, this was New Hampshire's first season with just one race again, and you couldn't tell crowd-wise whether people put more emphasis on this race because there was only one or not because of the weather.
Yeah.
The stands were pretty empty for it. So that's a little bit of a disappointment, but I don't know. It seemed like people embraced it pretty well. I know they've got another NASCAR weekend. The track keeps saying we don't have just one NASCAR weekend. We just have one Cup weekend. There's another modified, but nobody's even paid attention to the.
Yeah.
No offense to New Hampshire, but if the Cup cars aren't there, it's off the radar for everybody.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's not the big event.
No.
You just got the little guys, but the modifieds are pretty cool there. They run. I've watched a couple modified races there, and they are pretty sweet. So
Modified
should
cars
be a good
are
show.
great on a mile-long flat track.
Yeah, just holding it down.
I mean, think of how good they put on the show when they did the Bash at the Beach or whatever at Daytona on the backstretch. I mean,
Yeah.
it's literally a flat section of asphalt, and they put on a spectacular show. So
Those modifieds can hold it out, man. They
even
just wide
the
open.
K&N cars put on a good show on a flat track. They run the Bias-Ply tires, I think, a lot of the time, and
Well, they can run the corners so much faster.
right.
You know, they just are able to have a little bit more control through the corners, and it makes for, you know, pretty exciting racing. So
Right.
yeah, it should still be good. It's not a cup race, but
I don't have it in the
people
show
are-
notes, but Christopher Bell wins the Xfinity race and beats out Brad Keselowski. So
Yeah, that was a good one.
second week in a row win for Christopher Bell, and he does it. He beats Kyle Busch the first week and Brad Keselowski the second week. So
Two champs, yeah.
that's something for that kid. I was listening to them talk about it on Sirius today. Like how can you, or how long can you keep him out of the Cup Series?
Well,
And
Toyota, you probably read the same article.
You're
but
gonna beat me to it right now.
No, go ahead. No, you take it. You take it. But yeah,
Toyota
I
says
agree.
they're gonna keep him in the series for one more year, in the Xfinity series for one more year.
But they are, I did read that they were not going to make the Kyle Larson mistake. I don't know if you saw that, but they had a chance to get Larson
Right.
for Chevrolet, and they took too long, and
Right.
Kyle Larson got away from them.
I find it
and-
interesting they keep talking about Kyle Larson and nobody's talking about William Byron, because the same thing happened there.
Yeah. Well, William Byron hasn't quite broke through yet on
Right.
the Cup side. I think once he
It'll
does,
come.
it'll come. It'll come.
That kid's too good for it not to come.
Yeah, if Hendrick gets their stuff turned around and Byron starts performing, they're going to go, oh, yeah, that guy used to drive for KBM.
Yep.
What are we thinking?
Yep. So, all right, that I think that pretty much covers New Hampshire, right? I think we.
Yep, I
wrapped
think that's
everything up
about
there.
it.
So
Heck of a race.
we had another race during the week, and you guys heard the call at the beginning of the show. The Eldora Dirt Derby 6th annual from Eldora Speedway. Chase Briscoe, Grant Enfinger for the win at the line. I forget what it was, 0.3 seconds, something like that. Chase Briscoe gets the win. You got it?
Yep. Tight.
Yeah. So, yeah, excellent race. There's not much to say about it. It's just another excellent race at Eldora. I was out there, got to take in the experience from the infield, stood on the photo tower outside of turn 2 and took some photos from right above the fence. That was pretty exciting.
Hang out in the love tunnel.
I didn't hang out in the love tunnel. I made a few trips through it. So, but again, it just, spectacular race. We've not had a disappointing race at Eldora yet. Last year was the closest thing to it when we had all the fiasco with the mud and stuff.
Yeah,
the long
cautions were
delay.
pretty bad.
And
Yeah.
This year we didn't have those just constant cautions. This year the track was good. Everybody kept it together for the most part. And I don't have his name in front of me. Who was the kid in the 51 truck that what's his name?
Uh-oh.
Logan Seavey.
Yes.
Logan Seavey had himself a race won, and then they got a late caution that bunched field back up, and he wasn't able to. He got the first restart, but didn't quite get the second restart, and ended up falling back to, I think, 8th was where he finished.
Yeah, he ended up finishing 8th. He led 53 laps.
Yeah.
So, yeah, nice.
Yep. So I think we'll be hearing more from him for sure. But yeah, just an all-around great race. Cautions fell at the right time. It was exciting. James, you watched it on TV, I assume, right?
Yep. It was good.
How is it from the TV? Because I've never watched it on TV. I've always been there. And
Yeah.
I was in the
they-
infield, so I don't get to see the same aspect even as sitting in the stands.
Yeah. No, the TV always does a good job. I enjoyed the fact that they had a little. I noticed we're doing a lot of broadcasting where we're trying some fun things. I much rather have Larson in the race, but those guys did a good job. TV did a good job, but the racing from TV, it looks. I mean, you can tell that they're not really moving too quick.
Right.
Well, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. At Eldora, it doesn't. I mean, it's just a good show. TV covers it really well. There was not a lot of. One of the things that you may worry about is dust or a haze over a dirt track, and
Right.
no, Tony and his crew had that bad boy looking good. It was from my seat it was good. Probably not as good as yours, but I still enjoyed it.
My seat was really good for the portion of the track I could see, but of course I never could see the whole track from anywhere. There was a pretty good spot you could stand if you stand on the inside coming out of turn 2. the big screen is right in front of you, so you can see whatever's happening on the other side of the track, and you can see almost halfway between turns 3 and 4, and you can see from turn 1 through turn 2. So you can see pretty much 3/4 of the track for the most part. So that works pretty well. It's the front stretch is a tough spot at Eldora because they cram everybody on pit road, and so you can't really see past pit road at all. So you really don't see any of the front stretch when you're in the infield. So, so Tony Stewart decided to throw some news around and drop. What did you call it? A smoke bomb? Is that what you told me?
Smoke bomb.
Dropped a little smoke bomb before the race on Tuesday. He was on Sirius XM and called for fans to lobby NASCAR and tell them they want an Xfinity or Cup Series race at Eldora. Of course, that spurred the talk of, again, whether we should run Xfinity or Cup on dirt. Tony doesn't want to run Xfinity or Cup on dirt. He wants to run them at his track at Eldora. So you start talking about Charlotte, you start talking about Knoxville. Tony's not in that conversation because he wants them at his track. So his leanings are a little bit different. But what do you think, James? We've talked about this before, you and I. I think we talked about it last year on the podcast. My feeling has always been I like this being a special thing for the trucks, but I'll let you give your response, and then I'll tell you the way I feel at this point.
No, Tony, and I think the reason Tony politics that way is because he's got the resume now.
Right.
He's got 6 years worth of Truck Series racing saying, hey, this works. It's the best show of the season.
Yeah.
Let's take it to the next step. And I know, some of the Cup guys are iffy about it.
Right.
Even so far as Kyle Larson saying he doesn't think that it would work, and there's got to be some changes before that would happen. But I understand where Tony's coming from. I am on the fence still. I think I'm coming around to, well, what the heck ever. I mean, if we're gonna have these schedule changes, if we're gonna cobble together a road course inside Charlotte Motor Speedway, what's the difference? Why not have a one-off dirt track race somewhere in the schedule? I wouldn't put it in the playoffs or anything, or maybe make it an all-star type event, but we could get the Cup cars out there and I'd be okay with it.
Here's my thing. Like I said, I was very much against it in Xfinity or Cup because I really like it being something special for the trucks. But it kind of seems stupid not to do it. I mean, at this point, it works. Fans are clamoring for short track racing. And, if you really, I don't know if it's like this all across the country, but if you go in Michigan where we're from, you go look around and go to the local asphalt tracks, go to the asphalt tracks in our area. There's one asphalt track in Michigan that I can think of off the top of my head. Well, maybe two, because I think Kalamazoo does pretty well too. But Berlin Raceway down in Grand Rapids has pretty good shows. They have good turnouts. But none of the other asphalt tracks have big turnouts. People aren't racing asphalt anymore. But if you go to the dirt track, I work at Tri-City Motor Speedway in Auburn. Merritt Speedway is just north of me here. Crystal Motor Speedway down south of us. These tracks are just killing it with the dirt track racing. They're getting huge car counts every week. And I think NASCAR is supposed to be the best of the best. And if your local track is running dirt, if you're going to watch dirt racing, don't you want to see the big guys do that too? Isn't that kind of what not only that, but we're going into this whole retro thing where we're Darlington with the retro race and all that stuff. We're going through these changes. We're in this transition period. Fan sizes are smaller. There's just everything is lining up to do this. We used to race on dirt. There's no reason why we can't race on dirt again.
Right.
And I'm not one, I used to say one race on dirt a year, do the trucks, that's it. I even feel to the point where I would like to see, I forget who it was now. Somebody tweeted out a proposed schedule.
That was a Truck Series driver. Who was it? Oh my gosh. I know what you're talking about.
I don't remember. Anyway, it was excellent. There were a couple dirt tracks. He had Eldora for the trucks and the Cup cars, but he had Xfinity running at Charlotte on the dirt track. He had these things split off. They had, there were one or two dirt races for the Cup Series. The Truck Series had a few more dirt races. There was a mix of short tracks in. You didn't go to any track twice. It just was perfect. And I think that's what we need to do. We need to work the schedule where we're not going to tracks twice. and work some of these tracks in. Eldora deserves the right to be the first dirt track, but I would not mind seeing a couple. I don't want to do the 1.5 mile thing where 3/4 of the schedule becomes dirt tracks, but I think a couple of them would be great. I think that
if you've got 2 road courses, why not?
Yep.
Or well, we got 3 now,
right?
Quote unquote.
And I think like you said, this cobble thing that they're doing at Charlotte is the perfect example. I think I told you, my prediction is in 10 years, within the next 10 years, we're going to run a cup race on dirt. It's going to happen.
I think it's going to happen. I think Tony's got himself in pretty good position to make it happen.
It's just if we're basically adding a bunch of crap to an oval track, like a storied oval track, so that we can run a road course race there, that just goes to show you that the minds are open. We're going to do this schedule shakeup. Hopefully, God, I hope. I just read an article again today that the schedule shakeup might not be what everybody hoped it's going to be. Hopefully, we shake the schedule up in 2020. And
but these rich guys, these rich track owners, NASCAR included, they've got to give up stuff, and that's the problem.
Right.
Like, what are they going to give up to? And they're all about what's going in their pocket.
Right.
And that's that's the problem. But I know that I think it's been, correct me if I'm wrong, 2 or 3 years now, the truck race has not been a sellout.
Right.
But it's still pretty popular in person.
Right.
I know if they got the cup cars, or even if they just got Xfinity, for example, I think they would sell it out and then some.
Yeah.
I hope.
I don't even want to do Xfinity. I think Xfinity is a step sideways. I don't think it makes any sense to add the Xfinity series to that weekend.
Yeah, you've proven it at this point.
I think I think you.
I'm okay with it too.
You run you run the trucks one night, you run the cup cars the next night. That's how you do it.
Yeah, I'm still kind of skeptical about it a little bit, but like we said at the beginning of this conversation, what does it matter at this point? We're looking for any way to get attention on the sport.
Now, don't get me wrong, Eldora needs some updates if we're going to do this. And I personally think,
I think Tony said that. I think Tony said
he needs to put a pit road in there, a legit pit road, so we can have. I mean, I don't think you're going to have live pit stops throughout the race, but we need to have an option for pitting. I don't know that the stage break thing makes as much sense for the cup cars. And I'll tell you what, the media center is beautiful. And we were talking about it. They were talking about it down there on race weekend. I mean, it's of the tracks I've been to, it's probably like number 2 of the tracks I've been to as far as media centers. It's pretty spectacular. And I guess they were saying the care center is nothing like you'd ever see at a dirt track anywhere. But they need some suites. They need a press box. They need some stuff. The seats are pretty primitive. I mean, you're basically sitting on a wood bench for the best seats. So I mean, there's definitely some things that have to happen. But
you got people bringing in lawn chairs.
Right. You get a cup weekend and the money that comes, the TV money that comes with that, and you can add those upgrades pretty easily, I think. So.
Can you imagine?
And I don't think you need to put 80,000 people in Eldora.
40.
Yeah, exactly. Make it a premium ticket. Whatever. I mean, honestly, to go nuts with seats right now anyway, with most people watching it on TV versus going in person anyway, it'd be stupid to go completely nuts with seats.
I think right now they're pushing 18,000.
Yeah, they're
for the trucks.
Yeah, right around there I think is what it was. Of course, we don't know because they don't release those numbers anymore. Yeah, and the Kings Royal the weekend before puts in more people. More people come for the sprint cars, but of course you've also got 3 nights of World of Outlaws racing too.
Yeah,
so.
I think just getting the Cup guys out there would be such a goodwill thing for the old school fans.
Well, and the thing is too is what they need to do when they do it is they need to get people like Kyle Larson and Christopher Bell, which obviously Kyle Larson would be racing it if Cup was there, but they need to get these dirt guys out there to help with it, because I know a lot of dirt people. I work with a bunch of dirt people, and a lot of the dirt people think NASCAR is silly running these cars that aren't designed for dirt on dirt. So you need to have those guys there to legitimize it a little bit more too, so you don't.
And that was Larson's whole point.
Yep.
That was Larson's whole point. He said these cars aren't, the trucks and the cars are not made to run on dirt.
But we raced them there. There was a video that was circulating during the week there of the USAC series, USAC running full-size stock cars back then. And that was, I mean, we're talking in the 80s or 70s.
ARCA
These
still
things were
runs dirt.
freaking boats. Yeah, exactly.
ARCA runs dirt right now.
Yeah.
They raced Deadspin did an article a couple years ago. They raced Lamborghinis out there. So
Yeah, there you go. I think
like your street version Lamborghinis.
I think we've proved that it could work. And now it's just time for NASCAR to take the step and the tracks to do what's best for the series and everybody do what's best for the series. And I hope they can get it done.
Yep. And everybody go to www.thesuperspeedway.com and check out Eric's stuff, and go to Facebook and look at all the awesome photos that Eric got during the Eldora week. It's fantastic.
I have to put a bunch of them on Facebook because I have like 200 of them or something sitting on my computer right now. I can tell you actually how many.
I know you've been sharing them on your account, and they're just awesome.
213 photos right now that I need to post. Of course, some of those have been posted, but so.
There you go.
So yeah, I think and that probably covers Eldora at this point. It was an excellent race, good race weekend. Next year it's not in conjunction with any Cup weekend, so we'll see how that goes. I am going to do everything I can to get back there again, even though it makes it a little tougher with me doing these Cup races and stuff. But I'm going to find a way to do it, and maybe in a couple years I'll be going to cover a Cup race there.
Maybe.
There you go. Couple news items really quick. We'll bust through these kind of fast. Stewart-Haas made a bunch of pit crew changes to all 4 of its teams this weekend, and also some teams that they rent crews out to, if I remember correctly, because I think there was mention of Michael
front row.
McDowell. Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, I don't know if there's really much to talk about there. They're trying to fine-tune everything and get themselves playoff ready. And
do it now.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I don't think that's uncommon. They were talking to I forget who it was they were talking to on Sirius, but they were talking about, whether these guys are, some of these guys might be disappointed because they might have gone from, a car that's qualified for the playoffs to one that's not. And basically Stewart-Haas said that these guys work for Stewart-Haas, and that's how they come to work. That's how they expect to work. They don't work for a particular team, and they go where they're expected to go and work as hard as they can where they're at. So
you're getting paid to do a job. Go do your job.
Exactly.
You're under contract.
Yep.
Sorry. The way it goes. That's sports, man. That's like if a player gets traded and they're making $20 million a year, I don't want to hear you crying that you got traded. You've got a job and you have a contract. That's the way it goes.
Right. It's been a week since the testing at the Roval at Charlotte, but we haven't recorded since then. So I don't know if there's much to say. Obviously, William Byron had some trouble. Lost his
Kyle
brakes.
Busch looks freaking awesome going through the chicane.
How
many times did you watch Kyle Busch go through the chicane?
I had a GIF that would it was a video that would replay on Twitter, and I just watched it for like 5 minutes.
Kyle Busch gunning it through the chicane was the most excited I've been for the race.
Yeah.
I've been excited for the race, but watching Kyle Busch navigate that sucker is exciting, because if nobody else figures it out, he could either run away with it or it's going to get really exciting really fast.
Yeah, definitely. Charlotte Motor Speedway is installing synthetic turf through the entire front stretch through the tri-oval. They already had some in the first section of grass. They installed it last year, but they are now installing it throughout the rest of the tri-oval. Supposedly it'll slow the cars down quicker than grass, et cetera, et cetera. We really haven't seen it tested very much. I don't think we've seen it tested in any of the actual races. They pretty much avoided that portion of the grass. I guess my big question is what's the splitter going to do when it hits it?
Maybe it's just going to glide right through it. Maybe it's going to be so flat.
Awesome. That would be really nice. I'd like to see
This is the Eric Young wish. This is on the Eric Young NASCAR wish list, I think. I think you can cross it off. Yeah. I remember having these conversations with you where you said, why don't they just do something else instead of grass, or paint the asphalt green?
Yeah.
I remember you saying that to me one time. At least.
I'd rather they stop ripping the front ends off these cars. But
we'll see what happens.
Yeah. So, but anyway, so not really too newsworthy, but just thought I'd mention that. Something a little bit more newsworthy. 5 Hour Energy announces it is leaving Martin Truex Jr. and NASCAR at the end of the season, leaving Martin Truex Jr.'s team, and Furniture Row Motorsports looking for a sponsor for that car for next year. Kind of crazy again to be talking about the last year's champion and one that's in the running for the championship this year, short of sponsorship. Truex said basically that they weren't surprised, but it came a little later than they were hoping it would come. and basically there was talk about, I read an article from it was the next article we're going to talk about, this Forbes article, where AJ Allmendinger was talking about the amount of money that it costs them to run GT Doherty Racing and their teams, and he's talking
a lot of money.
He's talking a lot of money for a team that's a mid-tier team versus Martin Truex Jr. It's a championship team. So Truex basically said that he doesn't think that they'll be able to run that team out of pocket like they did previously and run Furniture Row on the car. So they will need sponsorship, but he's confident and hopeful that something will come along. So anything to add there, James?
I think the last time this happened was Tony Stewart when he won, and Office Depot ended up leaving.
Right.
Fairly soon. I think there was one more season in there, and then they were gone. Just the nature of the beast. Even when you got a championship team, you can't keep your sponsors the entire time. So
this Forbes article that we're going to talk about now, and I don't know how much we'll get into it. I don't know if you've had a chance to read the whole thing, James. But
yeah, I read it. Yep.
There's some talk in there about this new plan that they're looking at for sponsorship and whatnot, for title sponsorship and everything. And it mentions in there that they're talking about, unifying that a little bit so that bundle sponsorships of TV networks, tracks, and sanctioning body beginning in 2020. Unification process lends itself to reaching sponsorship agreements with greater ease. By bundling, sponsors get away from having to reach individual agreements with drivers, teams, tracks, and NASCAR's sanctioning body. The way that's worded, I hadn't heard talk like NASCAR was going to be part of getting sponsorship for the cars too. That'd be a really interesting system if we could figure out a way to where, there's like one sponsorship group and they all like, I don't know, it'd be interesting to see if something like that would work.
Yeah.
I know that there's going to be a lot of teams that aren't going to be on board with that because they are successful at getting their own sponsorship and getting their own deals. So,
right.
I don't know. I guess I don't know. I guess.
Well, I'm proud of us because we talked about the first part of that on this podcast many months ago.
Right.
So I feel like we're ahead of the game a little bit.
I think so.
But yeah, but what you said, the driver's side and the team side, I did not know that was out on the table.
Right.
But
And
that would be.
I don't know how accurate. I mean, this is Forbes. Nothing against Forbes and their reporting, but they're not necessarily at the track every weekend. Although there were multiple articles this week from Forbes on NASCAR, so they're looking at it pretty close.
They're
right
doing
now.
homework. Yeah, I think when NASCAR was up, quote unquote, up for sale, I
Yeah.
think somebody like Forbes is going to start snooping around, which is good.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we need a Forbes in there telling us about the business side. I think a lot of people don't really understand.
Yep.
The business side of NASCAR, and I think a lot of people would find that interesting too.
So this Forbes article, it's in the show notes. If you go to www.thesuperspeedway.com, the show notes are up there, and there's a link in there for those. And it talks about, the article it's titled, NASCAR Isn't Dying, but Insiders See a Sport in Transition. And it really talks about, there's talk about the different, the changing of the guard, the top-notch drivers, the Jeff Gordons, the Tony Stewart's, the Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s leaving the sport, and now we've got this young group that's come in, and nobody's really stepped up to become one of those big stars yet, and so there's that transition, and it talks a lot about the gaining millennials and actually how much millennial viewership there is with NASCAR, and that's something. It's really easy for those people that are negative and down on NASCAR. There's one, and I won't mention his name. I really, really, really want to call him out. I really want to
say it.
No, I'm not going to do it. I really want to do it on Twitter, and I really want to do it on the podcast, but I'm not going to call him out. But there's somebody that reports on NASCAR that has been so negative, and it's just gotten under my skin so bad, and repeatedly tweets pictures of empty grandstands and things like that. And it's like, okay, so maybe the problem isn't that there's so many fewer people watching NASCAR. Maybe the problem is that the way we measure it is outdated, and we're measuring it by butts and seats at the track, and people answering questions on, a rating survey that are completely antiquated to begin with, and we aren't considering the digital numbers and the people following on Twitter and the people that watch YouTube and the people, there's people are watching this stuff somewhere, and maybe the streaming, they don't measure streaming very well right now. So there's a lot of areas that might not be being measured. So it might not be as doom and gloom as it appears to be. And maybe that's just being overly optimistic again. But I don't feel like it's as bad as some of these people want to make it out to be.
Yeah. Listen, it's not baseball.
Right.
I think baseball's got a bigger problem than
right.
Baseball's
not willing enough to change, and that's the problem.
Right. The thing is, we're in a different time, man.
Yeah.
We've talked about it plenty of times. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. I don't watch every race start to finish. It's just not part of my lifestyle right now. It hasn't been, but
I do. I do it with DVR, and I skip the boring parts.
But I don't. Yeah, and that's the thing.
Or I skip the commercials.
Yeah, I don't have DVR, but if I'm not watching the race, I'm aware of what's going on during the race. I've got Twitter going, or some sort of communication with my phone on, something. I've got something. I'm tapped in.
Right.
It doesn't mean I have to watch I don't have to watch 500 miles.
Yeah, the amount of time I view tweets from the drivers and highlights on Twitter and YouTube. I mean, I watch NASCAR constantly on YouTube. Old races and this and that and highlights and radioactive and all this stuff that I haven't watched a NASCAR Race Hub episode in how long has Race Hub been on TV?
Yeah, it's all consumed differently.
I watch Race Hub all the time. For example, I'm a big fan of the late night shows. I like Jimmy Fallon. I like Conan O'Brien. I like Jimmy Kimmel. You know when the last time was I watched one of their shows? Never. I follow their YouTube channels and I watch their clips on YouTube.
Yeah,
that's
time.
That's how we do it now.
We are a people now that have so many things coming at us. We can't possibly consume everything that we want to consume. It's just not physically possible for us unless we had some sort of a time travel device where we can go back, and we just can't do it.
Right.
But we have DVR. We have
not only
YouTube.
that, but we're also so. I don't know about you, but I've become so ADD that if I sit down and try and watch a race straight through, I'm like, I got to go do this. I got to go. That's why I love going to the race and sit in the press box, because I can tweet. I can do this. I'm not even hardly watching the race. I'm talking about the race. I'm talking to people. I'm interacting with people. And that's one thing I lose with the DVR thing, because I can't do that because I'm not watching the race live with everybody else.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, and now with YouTube TV, it's actually a little bit too delayed. So the stuff pops up on Twitter. And I see it before it happens, and it can be a little frustrating too.
Eric's biggest pet peeve.
Yeah, right? That's the biggest complaint I have about YouTube TV. I can't complain too much. But I mean, people like to compare. There were tweets posted of pictures of the ARCA crowd at Kentucky Speedway back in like 2003 or whenever, and how full the stands were compared to the Cup race last Sunday or a couple Sundays ago. And it's just, you're comparing apples to oranges. You're never going to have those attendance numbers again. It's just never going to happen. You're also never going to have Seinfeld viewing numbers on TV. It's just, that stuff doesn't happen anymore. There's too much stuff competing, and there's only so many people and so much time in the day to consume those things. And the fact that you can time shift and the fact that you can do this stuff, I think there's more viewership in NASCAR than people think, but it's become really cool to hate on the sport, and it really ticks me off.
Oh yeah. I don't know what to say. I don't know how to add to that. I think we see too much of it, and I don't want to dwell on that too much, but I don't think we're just regressing back to the means a little bit, and that's fine.
Yep.
That's fine.
All right, let's move away from that one then. Again, check out the article. It's in the show notes. Check that out.
It's good.
It's a
good read.
Yep. Quick question, and this came up this weekend after at New Hampshire when we had rain delays. This is my question. Nobody else asked this. Well, I'm sure other people asked this, but this is my question. Should NASCAR require tracks to have lights? What do you think, James?
Are you asking just for the track, or are we talking full infrastructure that goes with having lights?
I am talking, should NASCAR require tracks to have lights so they can run at night? I'm not saying that they have to have night races. I'm saying that should it rain and push a race back, that we could start the race at 10 o'clock at night versus 2 o'clock in the afternoon if the weather persists.
Here's my pushback.
Okay.
And I'm playing devil's advocate with you. I think that there are tracks that are so remote that just having lights at the track is fine, and it's probably a good idea, but getting from the track safely home, I see where that could be, on the infrastructure side, could be a little bit more difficult, if you know what I'm getting at.
Okay.
Where it's not just about the action on the track.
Are the tracks that remote? Like, what track are you thinking?
I think a lot of them are pretty remote. Well, I'm thinking like at MIS, for example, if you're parked way the heck out there, you're trying to cross the road, and there's just no lighting.
Well, you bring portable lighting in though at crosses and stuff. That's
well, sure.
That's not a big deal.
I'm just playing, yeah, and I'm just saying that's something I've heard in the past.
Because I mean, honestly, I just dealt with Chicago and Kentucky, and a lot of like the outside of the track is not equipped with lights. They just bring in portable lighting.
Sure. I guess that's that was just my. I don't know. I've heard that take before. I haven't put as much thought into it as maybe I'd like to.
That take sucks. Here's my thought. I think if you're a cup track, I think if you got a cup date, you're bringing in a lot of money from the TV contract for a cup race. I think if you're a cup track, you have lights. I don't care about the standalone Xfinity races, standalone truck races. I don't feel like you can require it for those. But I think for a cup race, you should have the ability to run a night race if you need be. People spend a lot of money to come out to these races. I mean, I don't know what it costs to put lights into a track, but I know some of the projects that they're doing at these tracks, they could put lights in some of these things. I mean, there's not that many that are left without them. I think there's only like 6. Jeff Gluck just put a post up of the tracks that do have lights and that don't have lights. And maybe you make an exception for Indianapolis because of the history behind it. Okay, we don't stick lights up at Indy. It's probably almost impossible to light that place anyway. But everywhere else you stick lights up. I mean, honestly, what are the big challenges you have? You've got, I mean, I would say Michigan is a big challenge because it's a big track. In Talladega, and other than that, it should be pretty easy to do.
Oh my God, Talladega under the lights.
Yeah,
wow.
Can you imagine?
Oh my God.
But I don't know. I feel like I hate losing races because of daylight, especially when you start talking fall races or early spring races when it gets dark early. I hate it's 8 o'clock at night. You can still finish a race, but we can't because we don't have lights. So
it's what would happen, and this is the great thing. People complain about everything. You put lights in at all the tracks, and they decide, yeah, let's throw the green flag at 10 o'clock, and everybody's angry.
Yeah.
So you can't please anybody.
No. People still have something to complain about. Right. Anyway, that's just my thought on it. I wanted to throw that in there.
I love it.
Probably could have done that as a Do You Care topic. I've got 3 Do You Care topics this week.
Oh my God, I'm excited.
So we'll try and go through these kind of quick. First one. It has now been a year. Actually, let me read this. This is NASCAR man _RR.
I wanted to bring this up on the podcast, and you already beat me to it with the notes, so I'm glad you have it.
At NASCAR man _RR on Twitter tweets, it has officially been 1 year since Hendrick Motorsports won a cup race. The last time they had a drought over a year was when they were winless from June 1991 to September 1992. Derek Cope is the only driver still active who was racing around then.
My God.
I mean, do we care? That's a big deal, right?
I think Rick Hendrick should care.
Right. I mean, that's huge, especially when
the last guy to win for them was Casey freaking Kane.
I know, right? Yeah, that's pretty crazy. And I think it shows you what that team, what situation that team's in right now. And I would be worried if I was them.
All of the great franchises in the history of sports go through downturns.
Right.
The Red Wings, right now.
Yeah.
Look at the Red Wings right now.
Oh,
they
no
suck.
kidding.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. Rick Hendrick hasn't had a lot of down years. So they're in the middle. They're in a little bit of the doldrums right now, but they will get it back. I'm not worried about them getting to victory lane. They still have Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah, they're not. I mean, it's not like Hendrick's going anywhere.
Yeah, and they're building for the future right now. They're doing what every great franchise does. Sometimes you got to bottom out, and that's what Hendrick's done. They've lost 2 Hall of Famers. Casey Kane didn't pan out. He's gone, and now you got a bunch of youngsters in there with probably the greatest driver of all time. There's still a good structure there. You just, the team's just going through some pains right now. They'll get back.
Yeah. I'm with you there.
I wouldn't be too worried about it. If I were them, I wouldn't be too worried about it. I do care, though. I mean, that's a long time for Rick Hendrick not to have a win.
Yeah, and, we need – it's been fun to see these new powerhouses there. We need more powerhouses. We need more of these teams. I want to see Roush come back to competing. I want to see Hendrick competing again. I don't want to see Stuart Haas or Joe Gibbs do any less. I want to see a good mix of competitive teams, not just 1 or 2 teams that's doing all the dominating. So.
And right now we've got 2 teams technically, if you count Martin Truex Jr.
Right.
with the Gibbs camp. You've got 2 teams, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep.
Number 2, NBC got to the guys in the booth, which was without Rick Allen on Sunday, got to wear casual clothing for Sunday's broadcast. Fans overwhelmingly voted for them to wear jeans and NASCAR T-shirts instead of the other 2 options, which were polos, or it was basically casual outfits, polos, whatnot, or the full-on suit and tie, that they normally wear. Do we care?
No, I'm good with it.
I like that they did it. I don't care that they did it.
Don't do it every week, but
I don't care what they wear, man.
Who cares? They're just talking in the booth anyway.
I don't care. They don't. I'm not a clothing guy. I am not a dress-up guy.
Yeah, you're a casual. Yeah, you are definitely a casual.
I am perfectly comfortable with khakis and a polo shirt. I think they'd be fine with that on a race weekend. I don't think they need a suit and tie. I think that's stupid. I think the race T-shirts was a cool one-time thing and not something they should do every week. But
I do think that, and I heard Jeff Gluck talk about this, and Jeff was all fired up about this. And I don't know why he's so angry. But he did say
he gets fired up about some funny stuff.
He does get fired up about funny stuff.
He doesn't care about things, and then he gets this one thing that just like Daytona Day. He hates Daytona Day so much.
And he dresses just as casual as any other reporter at the track. I got a picture of him. I think it was on my time hop today of the first tweet up at Eldora. I should tweet it to Jeff because it's pretty cool. But yeah, he's got a ball cap on, and I mean, come on, Jeff.
Right.
But he did say he doesn't want to see NBC ruin their. They've built a pretty good reputation so far.
That is true.
And you don't want to see them clowning around with, like ticking Rick Allen out of the booth. I think is a little bit more egregious than the T-shirts, but. I'm fine with it.
Since you mentioned it, we talked about it a little bit last week. What did you think of that?
I think Dale Jr. needs somebody like Rick in the booth. He was really getting on my nerves.
I think they need some direction in the booth. It just doesn't work.
You can't take your lead man out of the booth.
No.
Yeah, I don't like that.
That's what I don't like about the drivers only broadcast is that you don't have a lead guy.
You need a parent driving the car. You can't let the kids drive the car.
Yep. Agreed.
And those guys are all professionals, and they all do a great job, but they're not. It's fine for the Xfinity Series to bring in Kevin Harvick or whatever and goof around.
Let me say this: it was not as bad as I thought it was going to be.
No, it wasn't terrible. It's just you've got a good reputation. I don't know. Let Rick do his job.
I did get a little annoyed with the whole I'm Rick Allen. I've never been on pit road before. Check out this TV screen.
Right. Rick was.
Come on.
Yeah, he was peak Rick. Annoying, but I felt bad for the guy. The guy's worked his way up, and you take him out of the booth right away. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know.
So,
it's his job.
So this last one, James, I added, and I didn't put any description on here to tell you what it is. It just says win stickers. So this one, I wanted to talk about it. I wanted to add it in here, and I forgot about it. And
how does this annoy you? Is what I.
Do you know what it is?
The putting the win stickers on the car after the race?
No. I love that.
Okay.
So there was a picture of Kevin Harvick putting the win sticker on his car. His 6th win this weekend at New Hampshire. How many win stickers are on his car?
How many does he get to have?
How many win stickers are on Kevin Harvick's car right now with his 6th win?
With his 6th win, he should have 6.
No, he doesn't.
Well, he has
7.
What?
Because he won the All-Star race.
That
is complete crap. Do I care? Yes, I care. The All-Star race is not a win.
Well,
Kyle Busch had not won on every track in the series until he won the Coca-Cola 600, won a points-paying race. Michael Waltrip did not win a race in NASCAR after he won the All-Star race. He won a race when he won the Daytona 500.
This is an unexpected turn for me.
That should not be on the car. That is not a race win.
Well, here's my question.
Can Harvick put stickers on there for his Xfinity wins too? He should put. He won at the go-kart track Saturday night. Maybe he should stick a sticker on there for that.
Well, who won the Open or who won the shootout this year?
I don't even remember.
The Clash.
I don't know.
So here's my thing. Does the Clash winner get a sticker?
I don't know. I might have to do some research on that.
Does the dual winners get stickers?
Right. They should. They get points.
What about stage races?
Yeah.
Can stage winners get stickers?
This is stupid.
Oh, boy.
I'm very unhappy about the 7th sticker. I don't think he should have 7 stickers.
This is the most unbelievable thing you've ever been fired up about. That's really good.
Doesn't it bother you, though? It really bothers me. That's not accurate.
It doesn't bother me, but
It bothers me.
I mean, it's probably defined as the All-Star sticker. It's probably not the same as
It's
the
a
other.
win sticker, man. Look at the stickers. I'm telling you, it's a win sticker.
Well,
I'm getting a picture of the stickers at Michigan. I'm going to go stand next to the car, and I'm going to get a picture of the win stickers.
well, his whole car is going to be green by the
I
time.
know, right? Yeah. So, all right.
That was a good one.
I guess James doesn't care, but I do.
That was an unexpected turn. I'm not going to lie.
All right. This weekend is the Gander Outdoors 400 from Pocono Raceway. I am going to get the first pick, and we'll kind of rush through this because we're at about an hour, which is where we like to be at. Where is the one I'm looking for? I don't even know who to pick at Pocono.
Are we taking the three-headed monster out of?
Should we take the 300? You get to pick that pick this week. Are we taking them out? Or are we
I think we should banish them until the playoffs.
You think so?
They're not allowed. We can't pick them every week. You can't.
Right. Here's the deal. Next year, this is gonna be our fantasy. We're gonna keep track of points for this.
Oh, I like that.
Because I'm done with our fantasy league. I quit.
You passed me this week.
No, I quit.
You quit?
I'm not picking drivers anymore. You're laughing at me.
Why are you so mad?
Hold on. Let's make our picks for this weekend, and then I will explain to you why.
Well, I quit fantasy football probably for the same reasons many years ago, but it was the greatest decision of my life.
Why am I not driver statistics? Oh, that's why. Okay, average finish. Okay, this is not right. What am I in here? I'm clicking on the wrong thing, James.
What are you looking at?
Somehow I've got... There we go. Somehow I ended up with like drivers that from the 70s in my top of my list.
You gotta get current.
I thought I did that.
Last 10 races.
Yeah. Anyway, all right. So we're saying top 3 are out. Who's even good there? I'm taking Ryan Blaney. Screw it.
Oh, I like that.
That's kind of a cop out, I think. Blaney's won there, but I'm taking Blaney.
You know what? I'm gonna make an unexpected pick for me.
All right.
Chase Elliott. Let's do it.
Good one. He'll win
Show
now.
me something.
I'm excited about that. He'll win now.
Show me something, Chase. And I'm getting off the Kurt Busch bandwagon.
Yeah.
Although he'll probably win this week now that I've stopped picking him. So.
Right.
Come on, Chase Elliott. It's time, dude. You had a really nice run at New Hampshire. Come on.
There you go.
Calling you out.
You got Dark Horse first.
Oh, the old DH, eh?
Yep. I know who mine is, and if you pick him, I know who my second pick is.
This Chris Buescher doesn't count, so I'm not going to pick him. I'm just laying that out there.
He didn't win that race because he was strong. He won that race because it rained. Buescher, you can pick Buescher.
No, I don't want Buescher.
All right.
I want nothing to do with Chris Buescher right now. Oh my God. Stenhouse. I don't know why.
Stenhouse, really?
I don't have an explanation for it. I'm just picking him.
Wow.
Put him on there. Probably just to annoy you.
Yeah, that does annoy me.
I don't have any other explanation.
All right, I had mine decided, and now I'm wavering. Now I'm going with the same one. I'm going to go Daniel Suarez.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Not really a strong reason for that. I almost went Eric Jones there. Actually, I was going to go Eric Almirola, but he's getting out of dark horse category now.
Yeah, Eric Almirola is he's there. He's there. We picked him as a favorite a couple weeks ago, I think. One of us did.
Yeah. So here's the deal. This is why I'm not doing the fantasy league anymore, James. So I'm going to do probably really well for the next couple weeks because I'm not going to change my drivers. So Kentucky, right? Mm-hmm. I'm at the track at Kentucky, and I'm like, oh, crap, I didn't pick my drivers. Oh, good. Qualifying hasn't happened yet. I can go ahead and change my drivers. I go in. It's 2 hours before qualifying. Nope. Hit the deadline. Can't change my drivers. Why is that?
I don't know.
Why the deadline always is when qualifying starts? Why is it 2 hours or more than 2 hours before qualifying?
I think there's a certain time deadline.
Yep,
I don't know.
That time got me out of the fantasy league.
Well,
I'm done.
Good enough.
Because I'm so frustrated with it. Like, I already forget to do it all the time. And then I actually remember I'm at the track. I know they haven't qualified. And
fantasy
I still can't do it.
Is the most pain in the butt
it is
thing of all time.
I agree.
I hate fantasy sports. I don't know why we decided to do it.
Well, we decided to do it because we were hoping a bunch of people would do it with us, and so far only Todd has.
Well, we got that. It's a 4-person.
That's
league.
right, yeah. And we appreciate those who have joined us, but we were hoping for a much larger number. No offense to the people that did join us. Again, we really appreciate it.
Should Todd be insulted by your...
Todd shouldn't be insulted because half the time he doesn't pick either.
No, and he's whooping our butt.
I know. Well, he's going to whip my butt for good now, so...
Good.
I'm done.
He's out.
So I'm not even going to plug it. Don't even go to the Fantasy League, guys.
All right, we're done.
Screw
Yep,
the Fantasy League.
Yep.
But
Good enough.
instead of going to the Fantasy League, go to patreon.com/thesuperspeedway if you want to support us, help us get some more tracks, help us do some more coverage, all that stuff. If you like what you're seeing, please consider supporting us. There's a few different tiers there that you can do to become a part of the show. So patreon.com/thesuperspeedway. James, if they want to find you during the week, how can they find you on social media?
At James Cush on Twitter.
You can find me at TSuperspeedway on Twitter. You can find the Super Speedway on Facebook at facebook.com/thesuperspeedway. Our website is thesuperspeedway.com. You can find the podcast on there. Show notes, there's all kinds of coverage, again, from Eldora, Kentucky, Chicago, Michigan this year. More coming from the August Michigan race as well. So definitely check that out. If you haven't, we appreciate it. If you do, you can find the podcast on iTunes, Google Play, and SoundCloud, wherever you found us today. We hope that you continue to subscribe and continue to listen. James, anything else that I missed?
I think that's it.
That is it. It feels like, I don't know, I feel off for some reason. It might be because I'm
you've been
completely
on the
exhausted.
road. Well, you've been on the road for like 15 days.
I still haven't caught up on sleep. I'm so screwed up. And then I have this event that I have to cover this weekend for my actual job that will have me up till about 5:30 in the morning on Sunday morning.
Is that canoe race thing?
Yep, the canoe race. The Ausable River Canoe Marathon, which, by the way, is awesome. I'll tell you what, I love covering NASCAR, and I wouldn't put anything above NASCAR. I mean, it's quite a thrill. But this canoe race is actually quite a thrill, too. It's really fun to cover. So I volunteered to do it because I'm already up late for Tri-City Motor Speedway on Friday night. So I figured, well, I'll just stay up late Saturday night, too. But it's pretty neat to stand on this dam, this emptiness, and watch these lights come across this pond. And then, well, it's actually a lake. They call it a pond. But come across this lake, and then all of a sudden they burst into this light, and they portage over the dam. So they pull the canoe out, and they go run down, and then dive back. It's really cool. It's like a NASCAR pit stop just about, but at 5 o'clock in the morning. So it's pretty
nice.
Neat. Definitely very cool. So anyway, that's what I'll be doing this weekend, and we'll still be all screwed up on sleep next week. So good times.
But hey, good enough.
Pocono is Sunday, so I should be able to get some sleep on Sunday. So
yeah, well, there you go. That was a good one.
All right. On that note, we hope you guys join us again next week. Again, check out thesuperspeedway.com for more coverage, and definitely some coverage coming up from Michigan, where I will be in August. So until then, let's go racing.